you have received criticism from the Toledo Police Union, and they say that you're not the right person for the job. What is your response to that, and how do you think you can change their minds on this issue?
First, my goal is not to change their minds. I'm confident in my ability. Hopefully they'll get on board once we start providing some tangible differences, some tangible changes. But my priority is not changing anyone's mind. I think I'm supported by the community, the individuals I want to engage and promote the reduction of gun violence. I'm confident in what we are attempting to lay out. And so, criticism is going to come with every job, and you're either going to prove individuals right or you're going to prove them wrong. And so I'm just focused on my job and what I have to do.
How do you think the community can rally behind this effort and eventually make meaningful change?
I think supporting it is the biggest way the community can rally behind the effort. I've received verbal support from a number of agencies, institutions, and individuals, and so I expect them to, follow their word and provide that support, because it's nothing one individual can change. It's bigger than just me. It's a community issue. There, legislation needs to be changed. And that's a state issue. And so I don't think it's not about me as an individual. It's not about isolated incidents. It's about the overall picture and making sure that there's enough resources, there's enough opportunity that change can come. Economic deprivation is probably the biggest social determinant, and providing jobs is a social determinant. So there are other issues that contribute to gun violence that are monumental. So it's more than just, again, one individual. It's being able to collaborate, work across silos, and work without silos, rather, and work cross collaboratively to create a tangible solution.
We have seen a sharp rise in gun violence across the country. That doesn't just apply to Toledo. Why do you think this rise is happening? And why do you think that when this issue is being addressed, there's not enough change that happens to prevent it from becoming a bigger issue?
Again, I think one characteristic is the legislation. It goes back to there's a lot of money in the sale of firearms. It's popular. It's supported by the Second Amendment. Research has prevented in the past from recognizing gun violence as a public health crisis, referring to the Dickey Amendment. And so it's too many guns. It's not enough resources. And it's, again, like you said, it's across the country. It's not isolated to Toledo.
When this issue is brought up to gun stores and gun businesses, a lot of the time they deny that the guns are the issue. Where do you stand on this issue? Do you believe it is a gun issue, or do you believe it is a people issue?
I think it's a mixture of both, and that's what the public health, by viewing it as a public health crisis, does. When vehicular accidents were among the leading causes of death in the United States, it was approached with a public health model. They didn't stop making cars, but they improved the quality of the car. They improved safety measures. They established laws that punish drunk driving. And so it's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of individual and the corporation, the gun manufacturers.
In our community, we have never seen youth violence at such a high rate. What do you think is the cause of this increased violence among youth? Because youth were, of course, the center of violence years ago, but now the ages are getting younger. They're now 14-year-olds that have a gun. So why do you think that is, and how can we stop it?
I think the easy accessibility to guns puts the guns in younger individuals' hands. I think that, the easy availability to get a gun is what, it makes it easy for young people to get them. I think that COVID and has some kind of impact on individuals being able to not be accounted for in schools. They have more free time, more freedom to get outside of schools. And so, I think it's a number of issues regarding why it's individuals younger and younger. But I know that truancy is a main factor, and having individuals identified or located by identifying the time and where they're spending time and what they're doing. So yeah, but the availability of guns is just, the easy accessibility of guns. It makes it easier to get them.
When law enforcement has addressed this issue, the response has always been increase patrol of these communities. But as we've seen over the last few years, that just hasn't been the solution. Do you think that collaboration between the city and law enforcement could be of any benefit, because it hasn't been of benefit over the last few years? So do you see any ways that we can work around that and find new solutions to this old problem?
You know what? That's a great question. That's a very good question. I don't think over policing the communities is the ultimate solution. I think that the collaboration with the community and TPD is definitely a start in the right direction. But there's so much mistrust in law enforcement associated with the African American community. So I think it's work that needs to happen on both ends for it to be effective collaboration. For the community to trust law enforcement, I should say.
You mentioned that law enforcement in the Black community, they haven't really gone together at all over the last few years. And since the roots of law enforcement, there just hasn't been a great relationship. Why do you think there is this constant mistrust in the Black community when it comes to law enforcement? And how do you think law enforcement can better improve their relationship with the Black community in order to advance this effort to reduce the amount of guns on the streets?
I think it's stigma of bad police is a reflection on all police, which is not fair. I think that's one of the biggest factors that contributes to mistrust is stigma. And from a community that has been that suffers from stigma in so many other areas, it just prevents individuals from seeking help, getting resources. I was on a panel this summer to identify why the African American community doesn't participate in the MAP program, doesn't participate in vaccines, and these are a part of the reason. It's the mistrust of it's just mistrust. And so, because when you deal with a community that has been what's the word I'm looking for? Has been mistreated for so long, it's hard for them to trust outside entities. And so I think once we try to decrease or eliminate stigma, all police are not bad. That's a fact. And so, but we have to, those ones that are doing it right, we have to highlight them and support them and just acknowledge that that there are good policemen doing good work.
There is a town hall that's going to be taking place this upcoming weekend to address the community's concerns with regard to gun violence. What do you think could be the benefits of this town hall, and should we expect more of these in the future?
So yeah, there will be a series of 3. The first is to identify the concerns of the community. And that's the meeting I was at. I'm sorry for being late, but one of the biggest factors that came from the community is that I have to promote that this is not the same old story that they've heard in the past, that there are going to be resources. We're going to support the community, and it doesn't happen. This is not that story. And so that's one thing that I think it promotes. It promotes to the buy-in of the community. It promotes the engagement of the community. You can't go into the community and tell them what they need. We have to go in and ask, how can we help them better? How can they be served better? And I think that's the goal of the community, is to identify what resources they feel they need in place. And that's the whole point, is to engage the community and to identify what they are seeing.
JoJuan Armour of the Mayor's Gun Violence Initiative, thank you so much for your time.